Hopefully we're back at it. Got
Yeah,
a little glitch there.
let us know if you're hearing us. I don't think we are negotiations with DirecTV, so so I don't think.
I was in the middle of that. I was watching Channel 4. All of a sudden, it went off. I went, wow, that's something else.
So I don't think we got cut from that. But yeah, if you're watching right now, if you let us know if you see us, since I don't know why we dropped the episode last time. But anyway, we were talking about maintaining the race, being in the race, pacing ourselves, not going out with a sprint, talking about everybody, having the right intentions, but how do we become habitual about the good habits we want, and how do we break the bad habits we want? Starting out and talking about people that want to exercise, get back in shape, but then we see that.
Does it look like we got people saying they see us?
I think so, yeah.
Good. Because we need to know. If you see us, let us know. And that's important. But and as you're saying, Rick, one of the things that I think about more and more as I get older is birds of a feather. Birds of a feather flock together. And who you surround yourself with is very powerful. You do accomplish more, I feel like, in a pack. When you're with like-minded people. When you kind of get tired, when you kind of lose sight, when you kind of get frustrated, you have other people there in the same race encouraging you. It's kind of helping you along. Because some of us just need that. We just come up against something that we had not planned for, and being around someone else who says, come on, and picks you up really makes a difference. But I was thinking the other day, Rick, which is very sad, how many friends did you have in high school versus as you've grown older? And I think that would, to talk to a lot of people, that all the friends that they really have today, they made in high school. They have not acquired many, quote unquote, new friends. They have not been in an environment that's encouraged them to develop friendships.
Yeah.
And so they make a handful of people friendships in high school. And then one of the things we miss out on is people change. The guy you ran with in high school is not the guy you're with later in life. Has different views. He's been married. He's gone through a lot of changes, and so he may not be at all. I think if you didn't know him now, back then, would you still be friends with him or her? And the answer many times is no. Man, that person would have not interested me at all. And I never thought, since I made him a friend or her a friend in high school, I felt obligated to stick with them no matter what the cost. And wow, what has happened is many people have attached themselves to toxic people who only become more toxic and bring them down, rather than look and say, are the people kind of taking a step back, I think is very powerful emotionally. Taking a step back and looking, if I was an uninvolved person looking at this person's life, would this be a person I would admire? Would I admire their marriage? Would I admire their friendships? Would I admire how they handled work? Would I admire how they are personally? If the answer is yes, man, woohoo, keep it up. If not, goodbye. You don't have to be ugly, but it's important to be with the right people. I think that's a powerful element.
And it's not even, I think, the toxicity. I think sometimes, and I understand what you're saying about that, and for males especially, friendships do become, it seems like, less and less as we age, and yet with today's technology, I think we want to try to either relive or be back in those days when we can connect with somebody, yet we have to learn also, besides the toxicity that comes with it, or not, they may not be they may be non-toxic at all, but also people come into our lives sometimes just for seasons. They're there for a particular season, and seasons change.
Yes, amen. That's so powerful. Seasonal people. That's a good changeover. Not toxic people, but seasonal people. Yeah, that's probably what we want our viewers to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Is that check and see if you've got there for life people or there for a season people, and being able to set that boundary is so powerful and makes a big difference. But I have yet to know anybody that I feel like has achieved a high level surrounded by low level people. I just have not seen that. I said high people have high people around them, and they're willing to set a boundary. And if people don't match up with it, they're polite, they're nice, but they say, I just don't feel like we can move on from here. And I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I'm just saying, done. Put a fork in it. Let's move on. And people who do that achieve better, and tend to have happy people hang with happy people, and grumpy people hang with grumpy people. Well, grumpy people don't have to worry much because a lot of times they isolate, and so they're grumpy all alone. And then they as they get older, why doesn't anybody want to be around me? Well, you're nasty. You're not a nice person. You aren't an uplifter. And I think without a doubt, the older you get, the more you need an uplifter. And probably one of the things I would tell people who are thinking about marriage is the person you're thinking about marrying an uplifter. Because I'm going to tell you right now, you are desperately going to need that down the road. Desperately. That you're going to have to need somebody that sees the glass as half full, not half empty. But there are people who got married and were driven by passion, and they didn't review things. And this is the person that came along, and they grabbed it. And again, like you said before, for a season, woohoo, buddy, they're on top of the world. They're going to all the spots. They're dancing. They're having all the fun. But, boy, something happens that's negative. And they need someone. And it may be unexpected. Maybe it's be a mood that shifts in them that they didn't have anything to do with it. It just happened. And they need someone who's going to, bring them up. But they've not married that person. And then they wonder, how come this person, even maybe who I grew up with next door, isn't the person I've got on my hands right now? And it's because I didn't review the person. I was driven by the passion. And that has led me to a place where I give up. Yeah. It's just easier. And, when you also have that attitude, it affects your decisions. And then decisions get into the way. And boy, you have people making decisions, you're thinking, oh no, no, you don't want to do. You don't want to go down that road. And they, this person's different. This person this is not going to turn out well. And as a therapist, you hate to see that. It's tough when you sit with someone and you realize they're talking to you and you're going, this is the worst direction you could go. This is a terrible decision. And you try to share that with them, and they're like, I'm not having anything to do with that.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like you saying that. And I love it when they go, you're wrong. And you're thinking in your mind, give me time. Give me time. And if I'm wrong, you got me. And 9 times out of 10, sadly, as a therapist, you see people that you say, this is going to crash and burn, and you give them time, and you try everything you can to keep them uplifted and going, but they crash and burn. It's a terrible, terrible moment for a counselor.
I don't know if you saw that going around, speaking about the glass half full or half empty. And, we have those people in life that see the glass half full. We have people in life that see the glass half empty. But then you have the engineers out there who says the glass was built 50% too large.
I love that. Well, and another thing I'm thinking about here, Rick, is family. You need to look at what kind of family you came from, because I've seen some people who came from a uplifting, strong, a lot of ties family,
Mm-hmm.
and they weren't about criticizing, they were about uplifting. And they ended up marrying people that had a family background that was very critical, very judgmental, very negative. And then they wonder, well, why did this marriage crash and burn? And you say, well, I'm drawn back to the scripture that says, where are you building your house?
Mm-hmm.
Is it on rock or is it on gravel or on sand? And I just see time and time again, especially people who grew up in our generation, knowing that, built it on sand. Why? Because sand came around quicker. Sand was easier to acquire. They were able to get into the sand playing lot easier, and so they took it. And they didn't realize, man, when the rain of life comes down, it's going to wash that thing out.
Mm-hmm.
And I've lived long enough to where I've seen who I would have considered wonderful people, good-hearted people, marriage gone, life gone, property gone, because they made ill-advised decisions. And we really want to encourage people, go be disciplined, go at a different pace coming into 2017. Run like you're in December, because, you were talking about running in high school. I was thinking, I was about one time around the track, and then there was no running for me. I was up chucking it off the track at that point. I was too much because I was undisciplined. I'll eat what I want to. I'll drink what I want to. I'll live like I want to, and because that works for me. Well, I'm going to tell you, a track day didn't work for me. It was bad. And it's very important to watch people who, I'm thinking about TV. On one of these races, I saw the person go, well, I don't know how I'm going to do, but I'm going to stick around one of the old winners. And I thought, what great advice. There are old spiritual people, old personality people. They didn't just get where they are by mistake.
Right.
They made some wise decisions. They carry a lot of wisdom in them. And so at the end of the race, did the guy win? No. Did the person he was with win? No. But were they number one, did they finish? Yeah. And did they finish in the top? Yeah, they finished in the top.
Well, if I understand the engineering of NASCAR, you can actually get behind the leader, and the drag that the leading car has actually pulls you along, where when you stick with a leader, you're kind of staying ahead but also building off the momentum that leader has until it is time to go in front. And again, I think the analogy of life is are we finding those right people that we're able to get behind and let them kind of drag us, if that's the right word, that's the NASCAR word, but let their energy help pull us.
Without a doubt. And I'm also reminded of flying geese.
Mm-hmm.
That they are disciplined, that nature has helped them learn how can we fly longer and stronger. And what they do is the duck at the front of the V takes more of the drag, like we're talking about, more of the wind coming at them, and the people behind them take less. But the duck at the first isn't always at the first. He goes for a while and then drops back, and another one takes its place, and they interchange all the way through the formation. So in fact, there's not a first duck ever.
Yeah.
It's a changeable duck system, and that, I think, is a wonderful lesson for us. Are we in a group that's willing to change, to revolve, to take their turn at the drag, and also take their time behind being a little less under the drag? And there's a time you just are not going to handle stuff coming at you that well. You need other people there to take the wave that's coming to you. Just like NASCAR, just like ducks flying, it's all the same thing. It's a part of how nature works, and I think there's where we need to learn this running out, being at the first, trailblazing. The belief, which is they've learned a bad belief of you're going to do it all by yourself. You can go out there and you don't need anybody. You can just you can be a quote unquote trailblazer. I love research around that. Said that sounds good. Sounds that's the American way, but research shows it's a failed system that very few people ever make that work. That it is not done. This go up and doing it by yourself, lone wolf idea. I guess that's another thing I'd like our viewers to hear. 2017 cannot be the year of the lone wolf. It cannot be the year of the lone wolf. You've got to say this year is going to be the year of the team. This is going to be the year of working together, to getting together, to being of like mind. And I think if you set yourself up in January for that, you're still going to be kicking it in December. But there's always something, I remember thinking of NASCAR, was it Blaze of Glory, Tom Cruise's NASCAR movie?
I don't know which one you're talking about, yeah. Yeah, I don't remember.
And what was great about it, and Robert Duvall was in there too with him, and Duvall said he can't keep this up. He can drive beyond the tires. He can drive fast and be out there, but the tires can't keep up with him, and they'll wear out, and he'll lose. And so he went out there, I'm great, I know what I'm doing, I'm running, and he would run off the tires and end up losing the race. But when he learned to discipline himself and run in line with what the tires could hold, he ran the race. And I thought, I think that is a beautiful message for us. Even the person who has the most ability can outrun their tires. And I think you've seen that, where there are people you think, man, that person is a rock star.
Yeah.
For one semester.
Yeah.
And then they blew it out. And at the end, they're begging for food. They're nothing. But the person who just could got in there, had a good steady pace, who went at it, who understood and evaluated the system. That is another, I think, very powerful message I've learned as I've grown older, is evaluating the system. There are people who can get a job, who look at the system, take the time, evaluate. They still do their job, but they're really processing and saying, this is the pace. This is the way that's going to work. This is how this system's set up, and I'm going to work within the system. And I think that works for work, that works for church, and works for marriage. I think I get married, we're in love, we're going to be together forever. Oh, wow. Talk to them 5 years later, and they're saying, I can't stand this person, and I can't believe I'm in this marriage. And, oh, yeah, that person down the block really looking good. And like, what? And they're going, everything they built, everything they've worked on, everything they've done, you just hear a giant flushing sound at the end of that. And it's very sad, very sad. So I think it's like that, and I'm going to kind of clean this up. Young bull and old bull on top of a mountain. And they look down and they see a herd of cows. And the young bull looks at the old bull and says, let's run down there and kiss us a cow. And the old bull says, why don't we walk down and kiss them all? And I'm like, there it is. It's cute, but a poignant little joke. Yeah. Is that when you're looking to really make it to the end, and here's the time to make that decision. It's right now. It's a perfect time to make that decision.
So how do we start looking at creating a vision for 2017? We're into a new year. We're talking about, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
We want to be better, do better in 2017.
Right.
So where do we even start?
Okay. And this is one of I hate to do, is write it down.
Mm-hmm.
Sit down and plot out month by month. If get a little pad and like a legal pad and make 12 pages, January, February, March, April, May, and make sure that you have 2 sets of goals. And on there, you're going to write down your goals, and you have 2 sets. One set is similar to the last month. Okay. And then a new set of rules that only have to do, and you don't carry them over. You just get them done that month. So you have a unique month goal and you have a consistent month's goal. And you put that together, and then at the end of each, and you get a highlighter, and every time you reach one of those goals, you cross that off. Or, you color it over, so you can read it and remember, I've done this. And then you don't repeat it. If you've run through and completed that, you don't ever see that in either set of goals going on.
Right, but it also gives you a sense of accomplishment.
Well, I think you need that.
Yeah.
I think
well, we do.
You got to be in a place of self-praise.
Yeah.
I think you guys give yourself an attaboy, and that helps. And knowing that you've accomplished something. And also, I think, Rick, some of that is no repetition.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people do good things 12 months. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, wow. And they really say, I really did something. Well, you did something for a month. And you just repeated it over and over and over again.
Yes.
And eventually, that's going to be a loser idea. But I think writing things down as a goal and achievable. Some certainly at the top that can be carried over can be what I would consider long-term goals. And the bottom part are short-term goals. And separating those down, writing down and putting and evaluating them so that you've accomplished them really forces you and disciplines you into a pace and into a focus. I think we are undisciplined in structure and we are undisciplined in focus, and that's why we spend so much energy getting off the path, getting back on the path, instead of accomplishing the goals.
So the vision then is creating that roadmap, which is going to be our goals.
Right.
And the goals are going to be our destination where we're going to. The thing I would add to it then is we have to put in the directions to the goal. So as we're doing the goals, we want to also put the steps, how we're going to get to those goals. And again, I know people are thinking, this is way too much work, but it's really not. Once you get into the habit, and everything's habitual again. And so what I'm saying is, I can have a goal of making $1 million this year. Mm-hmm. But what are my steps to do that? And is it a realistic goal? How many clients do I have to see? How many classes do I have to teach? How many banks do I have to rob in order to get $1 million?
And what's interesting in that is Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
He's like, don't run out and try to make $1 million. Mm-hmm. But I love how they come up with, they didn't really mention this much when we were young. I'm hearing it all the time now. If you save a little each year, at the course of this many years, you're going to have $1 million.
Yes. Or if it's unrealistic goal, you set a realistic goal and say, I again, talking about pacing ourselves versus sprinting. I can see this many clients per week at this fee. That will translate into, so my goal is to increase it by 10% of my money. So what am I going to do? Am I going to put on support groups? And these are ideas, but my point is we have to have the directions to the destination, and those are going to be the steps to the goal. And we reevaluate those on a consistent basis. And if we're seeing that it's not working at one of the steps, we just reevaluate the steps and go forward.
And I can't help but think about people who have at a time in their life had a few clients, and now they've got many clients. That's the kind of people I want around me, not people who had a few and still have a few, but want to tell you how to have many.
Yeah.
I think that we get around other people who want to go someplace versus being around people who've been there. Now, and that again takes discipline of getting around people who have been there, done that, got the t-shirt. I'm not saying fill your life with those kind of people. If you just have one person, they have come up against obstacles. They've seen certain things that they can contribute. It's important to have contributors into your life. It's important when you're in high school. It's important when you're older. You never don't need help.
Right. And Kim asked, what about one thing for a year, such as pride, where you don't get angry or defensive from your pride. Well, Kim, again, I guess the questions are, what would be the steps in order to accomplish that? We can have, in fact, I think goals have to be annual goals. I think goals have to be quarterly goals. I think there are goals that have to be monthly goals. We have daily goals, and
it's important to stair step those.
Yeah.
If you're looking at, let's say, pride, like they're talking about. Well, pride is a long-term, lofty goal. But if I can bring it down to, if I do this every day, and then the next day I do this, again, they're going to look up and their year's going to be gone, and they will have accomplished the loftier goal of pride.
Yeah. Because that's a behavioral change.
Yeah.
And behavioral changes do take a little bit longer. And Kim, I know when you work with your clients, you see that too. And if something's not working, again, I go back to the great and wise therapist George Costanza from the Seinfeld show.
Oh man, genius!
If you remember, there was an episode of Seinfeld where George became opposite George. His life just wasn't working. Nothing was going right for him. And then he found out that if he did something, I think it was ordering tuna instead of chicken salad or the other way around, and things started getting better.
If I've been ordering chicken and it didn't work, order tuna. My life's gonna be totally different.
So
I love that.
So I think that's building on that infamous saying we're all familiar with. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And I think that's where we have to be wise in ourselves to saying, okay, if this isn't working, what do we change? I don't know if you have to go to the opposite George.
But you do it, and there's where it's powerful to write things down, because that concretely challenges you. You have to look at it and say, am I doing that? Am I going after that? Am I spending my energy on that? And it is easy, as we're looking at the beginning of 2017, to lose focus. And your heart can be in the right place, but your actions aren't consistent with that. And it's important that I'm consistently doing things that move me toward that goal. And when I do that, and I tell myself that it is very important to check in. It's important to check and see how I'm doing. It's important to have people around me that are holding me accountable. Boy, the older you get, the more accountable your needs are. And I've seen people that because they have surrounded themselves in an arena of accountability, they have achieved great things. Again, I've yet to read great writers, Christian writers or business writers who say, I did it all by myself. At the end of it all, it's me sitting there going, well, what a great job. Oh, no. It's fascinating how they talk about the people around them, the influences around them, the people that help them. They in no way make it look like they did it themselves.
Yeah.
I would not, they say straight up, Rick, I would not be where I am today if not for the people around me.
I think I shared it, a couple of weekends ago. I had the opportunity to hear John Maxwell speak, and that was one of the powerful things that came out of his is, you think, John Maxwell, he's got the answers to everything, but he made it very clear that he has his mentors and his accountability people who will read his stuff and hold him accountable to what's being written out there too.
Yeah, and I'm thoughtful of Dr. Phil.
Mm-hmm.
People think, Dr. Phil comes up with stuff. No, if you listen to Dr. Phil, he has a whole gang of people around him, psychiatrists, psychologists, some of the top people in the field. He runs things by. He doesn't think, I got it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to throw this out and see what the crowd says. And then, as a reference to their understanding, this is the way we're going.
Right.
And I think there's the word we're seeking in that is wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
There's where wisdom is, having an array of good advisors in your life that then help you because you're just not going to do it alone. It's an oddity. And again, you might do 1 year by yourself. Okay. Woohoo! That's an amazing. But boy, by the time you go, how many people you see do it for a year, next year they fall. That consistency, keeping it up, doing it. I tell you, if you see anybody, I don't care how wild they seem, if they're doing it year after year after year, they're disciplining themselves. Now, they don't show you that. That's in the background. They might keep that hidden, but there's nobody who keeps kicking it without a good structure, good accountability, surrounding themselves like the things we're talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
That's powerful. It's like the NASCAR driving. Who wins not understanding the drag of the car in front? Right. And the answer is, that'd be nobody, you know. Or if they do it one time, but they're never going to do it again because there's 500 things you've got to consider to get to do the race.
Yeah. Kim wrote another good comment, and actually that's a great comment, Kim, because I challenge myself with that sometimes, and 2017 might be the year. He says, how do people improve their self-accountability if they aren't disciplined ordinarily? And I don't even know if there is such a concept of self-accountability, because you cannot be accountable to yourself. And what I mean by that is you can be disciplined, but holding yourself accountable is a different topic. And where I'm going with this is I know, like, if I'm writing or have certain things to write, I could be disciplined, or I need to be disciplined in getting certain pages done per session. But if don't have any accountability, that discipline can be lacking a lot of times, which it has. But if I somebody said, let me see the 5 pages you've written this week,
right?
Then that's the accountability. So, Kim, I don't know. Do you think you can be self-accountable, or can you be disciplined but still need another relationship to be accountable?
And the thing I'm thinking about here, Kim, is the whole idea of give. When you're self-accountable, you give. I'll let that slide. There's a lot of give to that. But when you're accountable to other people, it's a stronger line. They're looking for a particular action, and they're not willing to back up. I think that there's probably the problem with self-accountability. We just are self-forgiving. I understand. This didn't go well. That didn't work. I didn't feel good. We are full of excuses. And we accept our personal excuses where we would not do that with other people.
Right. And if we're going to ask someone to hold us accountable, we'd ask them not to do it. I mean, again, we see it in our therapeutic relationships with our clients is when they come back in knowing that we've asked them to work on a specific skill set or to read a specific book or something, more than likely, if they knew that wasn't going to be asked again in the next session and they're going to be held accountable for, did they do the work? then more we'll probably see that they didn't do the whole thing or haven't had a chance. It's not again that they're lazy or don't want to do it. It's you're right. In life, so much else can come up that we can make the excuses for.
Yes.
That.
And it's nature to do that. And we have just seen. I remember another story of a preacher who gave this sermon, and everybody went, "Wow!" The deacons just loved it, and it was awesome, and they were just going on and on. And so the next Sunday, the preacher got up and preached the exact same service, and the deacons went, "Oh, wow!" And then the next Sunday, he preached the exact same sermon. And then the deacons went, "What?" And they went to him and said, What are you doing preaching the same sermon? And the pastor said, "Well, when you start doing what I say, I'll preach something different." And there it is. There's that element of accountability. No, we think if we just add new information and new stuff over and over again, people will get it. No, it's people hate when you say, "This is what I want." And we've even seen this in therapy where I need for you to do this. And they walk in and the first thing you ask is, "Did you do that?" No. So you're willing to pay me money to come up with something that you openly choose not to do, and you want to get better. Wow. I'm not into being a magician. I'm not into boom, you change. Doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter if you're accountable or anything. I'll come up with it. You don't do it. I'll use my magic wand. Everything will get better. I've yet to see that work. I didn't get that class.
Yeah. And Kim asks, he says, do our desires or passions drive our discipline? And is it one of those things where our heart is, where our treasures lie? We jokingly, for those that got in late, we were broadcasting and somehow we lost the signal. I don't know if it was wireless signal or something on Facebook. So we had to rebroadcast, and I jokingly said, we paid our subscription or didn't pay our subscription to DirecTV, and those that are out on DirecTV. But where I'm going with this is, I did the same thing. You saw all them go off the air as you were watching it. I woke up the next morning, saw Channel 4 off the air, and I actually started having these feelings of anger, frustration. And I'm thinking, wow, if that's really the worst problem I have in life, I'm 600 channels.
And I want our viewers to hear, it's not the worst case scenario like Rick's talking about. The worst thing can happen. It's just stuff. That's what kills people. It's not some major, catastrophe accident of our lives. It's the stuff that grinds us down. And we just, we have good intentions, but we're thinking in the short term. We're running our lives in the short term. We're only thinking 30 days at max. No, we need to think 365, and we need to count it off, and we need to make the hard choices in the grind down. Now, am I promising you're going to not be ground down in December? No, you will be. We're all ground down, okay? But there is a group of people ground down perform better because they're doing what we're talking about. They've not just, I know how to get there. I heard someone say, if you can breathe, you get through it. But it's not getting through it. It's producing, achieving, contributing down the road that really makes life worth it. It's doing that makes a difference. And we're trying to encourage people to set the plan up now. That's what we're talking about today. Setting a successful plan to make it through 2017. Because, I'm very hopeful, and I am glad 2016. I've never felt a year where, man, I was just trying to get through. I mean, everybody was dying at the end. I was thinking, goodness gracious. And I remember on Facebook, Betty White looking into Facebook said, I beat it. I got through it. And I thought, I know that's exactly how I feel. I'm not Betty White, but, you're just wondering who's going to fall out at the end. And the real truth is those people were falling out in January, and they had a falling out plan. It may have looked like it happened just then, but they had been making choices all along that led them to defeat at the end. So that's what we're trying to encourage now. Is better choices, smarter plan, better strategy. Not, and then I don't hear from you, and I know I don't hear from May, wing it.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah. But we also have to recognize, too, that there's always tomorrow. So it doesn't work today. You're right. Rethink the choices, rethink the plan, and then make the changes, because there's tomorrow that we can make those applications.
Yeah, and I do not want to be so hard line as to not present, and I think you are much better at this than me, grace. Yes, there is grace. But when you are skiing on nothing but grace over the long run, I think you're setting yourself up for trouble. I think grace is important. I think it's needed. I just think it cannot be abused. And I think some people out there do abuse.
Right. Well, and so we just have to go back to the woman at the well, and where Christ used both grace and discipline. Go and sin no more. Gave her grace. I know who you are. I know what you've done. You're speaking to the living water, but go and sin no more. And
I challenged her. Mm-hmm. It isn't like I'm going to get on your back and follow you and thump you every time. That's not the God we serve. That's not what it's about. It's I hear you. I've connected with you. I've helped you. Okay. And now you got to pick up your stuff and you got to carry it. And other stuff is going to come, and you're going to have to make the tough choices. And I think there's the one thing you and I agree on across the board, which is you don't do well just off easy choices.
Right.
It is about choice, and it is about tough choices. And we're not selling the easy life. Even with this plan, we're not selling the easy life. We're telling you it's tough. And if you're going to make it successfully, if you're going to run the race well for 2017 and be hitting it in December, you got to plan for that today. Mm-hmm. And you've got to have accountability in that. You just and surround yourself with accountable people.
And I think that's the whole key. And Kathy's asking, should the plan be realistic and doable? Yes. And being who we are and how we are wired. Kathy, I don't know where we're going with the who we are and how we're wired. The neat thing again about being human is, and you go into something like the DISC profiles, which will show you basic personality traits that each of us have, but will also show us that these are some things that you can be aware of and behaviorally change. If you are a person who is direct, you might need to learn to be a little bit more graceful. If you're a person who is too graceful, you might need to learn to be a little bit more assertive. I've had clients in my session before who told me I need a Dr. Phil, that I am giving too much grace sometimes, and then I've had others who needed that grace. And so, Kathy, I think the first thing we have to do is learn who we are and what are the behaviors that are positive. Because all behaviors, there's nothing wrong with who we are, the behaviors, but there are things that we need to maybe learn to work on a little bit better. And even more importantly, can we learn about those people that we work with? And that's an important thing too, is some people are more dominant, some are more sensitive, some are more, and how do we best relate to these people? So, yeah, should the plan be realistic and doable? And who we are and how we are wired is, first of all, we've got to know how we are wired. And there are assessments out there, both spiritual gift assessments and personality assessments, that will help us better understand how we are wired.
Yeah, and I think, Rick, in the midst of that and looking at that question is the fact of, if I set a goal and I look up and I've put in what I believe to be reasonable effort and there's no progression, that's a rethink moment.
Mm-hmm.
But if I set up a goal and I make it very easily, again, that's an assessment. It should be enough to where it challenges me, but I make progress. That's the important thing. I think there are a lot of people who have given back, given back, given back, gone back, given in, and they're miserable. It's important for the human spirit to have achievement. It's important for the human mind to have achievement. So we want to encourage people to achieve. And one of the places I always like to start is, who do I admire what they've done? Who do I admire as a person? That then sets, what did they do to get there? They didn't just wake up one day and boom, I'm this way. They did certain things. And there's where I want to start looking. I don't want to have an aimless goal. I want to have one I've seen it accomplished. And very few people don't have people in their lives that aren't ahead of them. And those are the people you need to look at how they're doing it, work with them, set up that goal through them, and then do it.
Yeah. And Kim's asking, should we learn or try to expand our temperament? I think, again, it's not that we want to change who we are. We just want to better understand what our temperament is. And we can always learn to better relate with other people, and especially build off the temperaments that we have that we know are positive relationship building, and the temperaments that we have that might be a little bit of a challenge. Those we can change. And but again, we're going to have people out there who need the Dr. Phil, and we're going to have the people out there who need the more grace-oriented type individual in their lives. And once we figure out how these people operate, then we can adjust ourselves to how do we best relate to them. And this is not a therapeutic process. This is in life itself. There are people that are very sensitive, and you take a different approach than people who just say, just tell me like it is so I can get on and do what I got to do. And
right, and Rick, part of that is the balance. Sometimes you need to use the stick. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you need to use the stroke. Mm-hmm. And it's the wise person who has found the balance. So there's where I would encourage our viewers, look for the balance. And again, when you find the right balance, what you're going to see is progress. You're going to see things move forward. And so if you need more of the stick, then get in a situation where you use a little more of the stick. And if you don't see any progress, that's not the plan. Go back to the stroke, see if you get more. But one way or the other, you're going to see movement. And so that there is, again, getting people around you for accountability and looking at progress.
So I guess one of our challenges is for everyone to set a goal, find that person or a couple people in your life that will be your accountability.
Welcome. Command, please.
My clock's talking to me.
And
sorry, I didn't recognize you.
Oh, that's better than a talking clock. Oh.
Well, I'll be in an argument with it today. My clock, as you can tell, is more determined. She'll keep on me until I give her a command and set time or something like that. So hello, Moshi. Hello, Moshi.
Now we'll talk to it. Yeah. Well, I won't stop. Now talk to me.
Yeah, so my clock and I will have a long discussion after this. And
There's life.
Yeah.
There's a good example of how best laid plans of mice and men. You can plan something, you set it up, and the next thing you know, your clock's talking to you. Goodness gracious.
Yep, and that's right. That is it. It's balance in life, but that is what life's all about. It's when we do become extreme on one side or the other, and finding what that balance is, and that takes time. And again, the balance is always going to be changing because there's going to be things put on one end of the spectrum. There's going to be things put on the other end of the spectrum. And so as we go through life and figure out where the weights are going, where the balance point is in that.
And it's not stagnant. You don't get it. It's a getting forever, working at it forever, refining forever is how it works.
Yeah. Well, Roger, I know you're on Channel 16 this afternoon.
Right.
And Channel 7 on Thursday at 10.
That's right.
So we'll be looking for you there too.
That's regular TV.
Regular TV, if they pay their fees. Too.
Yeah. If they're on direct TV. That's the truth. Oh, goodness. Woo.
So we will end it there.
Okay.
And next Tuesday, I'm headed to Gaffney next Tuesday, but we'll still be able to do 10 a.m. And if I'm out of here by 10:45, which works in our schedule perfectly, I'll be able to make it to
Sounds good.
my teaching.
So it's back at this time next week.
Next Tuesday.
Good.
Y'all have a good one.
Good one.